Another episode, Faith in Home Buying. I love equipping people of faith for the home buying process. And thank you again for joining me on another episode. This one's going to be a little bit more educational. And I'm pretty excited about it because there's a couple of new, just new bills that have been passed. And these are going to definitely affect those that are sellers, homeowners, and just those looking for land in order to build on, or even looking for, just even more ways to improve your current land and current, I don't know, just the current land, to be able to really work that land and really make it work for you, from ADU units and even eviction. We're going to talk about that too, because there's some things that came down the pipeline for eviction that is definitely something that you don't want to miss. But, you know, I've been looking over and kind of just going through again, you know, Matthew 25, when it talked about the parable of financial stewardship, Matthew 25:14. And, you know, just again, this just jumped out at me, you know, again. And I say this too, because, you know, in my industry, you know, there's a lot that you can and can't do. I mean, there's a lot that you can, you know, sit on and not do, but there's many different ways that you can go about building business and, you know, just, you know, celebrating your clients and just doing different things. And recently I've been trying to do different things as far as telling more stories, and getting more stories out there so people can see, like, hey, these are real life people that have like real life obstacles being able to get into homes. But, you know, I think all in all, just entrust it with what I've been given, and understand that I'm content with where I'm at. And, you know, no matter if God wants to increase it or, you know, do more with it, I know that whatever I've been given with, I'm going to give 110%. I'm just going to keep going at it until he, you know, changes my direction or changes my perspective on things. And it just got me thinking about the parable of financial stewardship, and not even just financial steward. I think this, the gifts, everything that God has given us to steward over, right? Like the biggest thing is, you know, money in a lot of ways. And this is what this particular passage talked about. But it's more than money too. It's your talents, it's your gifts. It's like, it's the very thing that he's giving you in order to be effective with your personality, who you are in life, right? Like in looking at this particular verse, you know, I'm reminded that, you know, even the small things that he gives you, like, you know, like at least for myself, I've been given number one, this career, right? And even how I got into this career was just nothing but just crazy. But being faithful in where I was at, and knowing that God, even if it's just here, even if this is just, you know, what I do for the rest of my life, I'm going to give it 110%. I'm going to give it everything that I have, just because I know that you've placed me here. And I'm going to do the best that I can in order to be a light. I'm going to do the best that I can in order to just represent to the best of my ability, right? And so the parable, what it talked about, you know, the last part of, you know, people having, you know, there was three that had different amounts of money that they were giving. So ultimately, you know, long story short, they were giving amounts of money, and, you know, the wise master would come back and say, okay, well, what have you done with my money? So those that have, you know, used the money and they were able to double the money and, you know, triple the money and just kind of make more of it, you know, they were given more. How awesome is that, right? You know, things that you do, the God's deposited. What are you doing to utilize those things and those gifts in the world? And it just got me thinking of the verse that is 21, Matthew 25:21, commending his servant. The master replied, "You have done well in proving yourself to be my loyal and trustworthy servant, because you have been a faithful steward to manage a small sum. Now I will put you in charge of much more. You will experience the delight of your master, who will say to you, enter into the joy of your Lord." But when it goes down to verse 22, and this is where I, you know, Lord, I pray that I never, in any of you listening, that would just never get stuck here, right? Like, then the one who had been entrusted with 2,000 gold coins came in and said, "See, my master, I've doubled what you have entrusted to me." He said, "Yes, you have done well." You know, he, you know, said, you know, "Great, I'll give you more. You have the delight of your master." But there was one that in verse 24 that says, then the one who had entrusted with 1,000 gold coins came to his master and said, look, sir, I know that you are a hard man to please, and you're a shrewd and ruthless businessman who grows rich on the backs of others. I was afraid of you. So I went and hid your money and buried it in the ground. But here it is. Take it. It's yours. But his master said to him, you're an untrustworthy and lazy servant. If you knew I was a shrewd and ruthless businessman who always makes a profit, why didn't you deposit my money into the bank? Then I would have received it all back with interest when I returned. But because you were unfaithful, I will take the 1,000 gold coins and give them to the one who has 10,000. For the one who has will be given more until he overflows with abundance. And the one with hardly anything, even what little he has, will be taken from him. Then the master said to his other servants, now throw that good for nothing servant far away from me into our outer darkness, where there will be great misery and anguish. How interesting is that? And how much more so that even, looking in the little things in the spaces that we're in, which servant are you? Are you the one that is untrustworthy and lazy? Ooh, I know that, ouch, that hurts, right? But are you the one that says, you know what, I'm going to take that little, like whether it's knitting or whether it's, the job that you're currently on, how can I make a difference in, the lives of others? Maybe it's a small hobby that you bring up a little bit more. Maybe it's something in media that you help to do in order to help bless other people. Maybe it's photography, maybe it's service, whatever it may be. Like, what are you doing in order to multiply that gift so that when, an account is given, you're looked at and saying, you know what, you stewarded over that well. And God's like, I'm going to give you more. And it's so awesome when he said in verse 29, for the one who has will be given more until he overflows with abundance. I want to be that person. I want to overflow with abundance. So no matter what it is that I'm doing, I know I'm putting my heart and soul into it. And I know God sees it and wants to overflow it with abundance, right? And so I pray that for you, whoever is listening right now, that you will be overflowing with abundance in the very thing that God has given you, and the gifts and talents that you have, that God will continue to increase it, and that you'll continue to work the soil, work and steward over everything that he's given you, so that you can make a huge profit off of it. Not necessarily the monetary. Sometimes it is the monetary. That's great. But ultimately that'll be rewarding for you. That being said, let's talk about rewarding and speaking of which, there's some bills that passed that would actually help those that are working land. Believe it or not, if God gives you a small piece of land and a plot of land and you're kind of sitting on it, not knowing what to do, well, some bills have passed to help you in working that land, and hopefully splitting the land, getting more homes on the land. So in this first segment, I'm going to talk about SB-9 that has passed. And that law was signed in California Senate bill. SB-9 was signed into law on September 16th, 2021, and it will take effect January 1st, 2022. SB-9 could lead to the establishment of up to 4 homes on parcels where currently only one exists. This would be accomplished by permitting existing single-family homes to be converted into duplexes. The law also allows single-family parcels to be subdivided into 2 lots, while allowing for a new 2-unit building to be constructed on the newly formed lot. There are several exemptions to the necessary ministerial approvals, because the bill requires that a development or a parcel be subdivided must be located within an urbanized area or urban cluster. It cannot be located in prime farmland, wetland, high fire zone areas, or land within a 10-year flood plan, or land in a historic district. This changes the game, y'all. It really does. I'm going to go over some different things with qualifying lot splits and, kind of like some key takeaways, but this is going to change the game. If you have a home that has some nice land to it, but not even that, a big house that can be split into a duplex, they're making, this law is making it so much easier to go through, hopefully, all the red tape so that you can get these things done, and for your home to be subdivided so that you, A, can have some income producing property, or B, just expand the home, especially for multi-generational living. So some key takeaways of the legislation is the qualifying lot split. So under SB-9, local agencies must ministerially approve certain subdivisions of one parcel into two without discretionary review or a hearing in order to qualify for ministerial approval. So basically trying to cut out all the red tape, right? So each parcel is at least 1,200 square feet. Okay, the parcel map subdivides an existing parcel to create no more than two parcels of approximately equal lot area, provided that one parcel shall not be smaller than 40% of the lot area of the original parcel proposed for subdivision. Okay, two, the split does not involve the demolition or alteration of affordable housing, rent-controlled housing, and housing that was withdrawn from rent within the last 15 years, or housing occupied by a tenant, market rate or affordable, in the past 3 years. So, it can't be something like you just evicted someone else kind of doing it. It has to be at least a 3-year time block to it. The parcel to be split is zoned single family residential. Makes a world of a difference. The parcel is not located within a historic district. Okay, the parcel is within an urbanized area or urban cluster, or within a city that has an urbanized area or urban cluster as identified in the U.S. Census Bureau. The original parcel was not established through a prior SB-9 lot split. Neither the owner or anyone acting in concert with the owner previously subdivided an adjacent parcel through a SB-9 lot split. So basically fresh and clean and new. When we come back, I'm kind of ending here, but when we come back, I'm going to talk more about the 2-unit development projects. So with lot splits is one thing, but then also with 2-unit development projects. I mean, this changes the game, you guys. If you want to find out more information, I do have all of this. You can contact me at tamikaelsworth.com or at 408-561-7922. I could talk a little bit more about it and also send you some information should you want that. But coming back, we're going to talk about 2-unit development projects dealing with this SB-9 split, but we're also going to talk about the eviction memorandum that has happened recently, and that's going to change the game for a lot of people too, because this COVID-19 Tenant Act relief is something that's going to affect a lot of us. So stay tuned. I have some more nice, exciting, fun news. All right, so let's finish out our SB-9 information. I really do think that this is going to change the game for a lot of folks. And I'm excited about this for especially those with pre-existing single-family homes in urban neighborhoods that weren't really able to before capitalize on being able to split the home into a duplex, or they have land and not knowing what to do with it. Like, these are going to really, really help a lot of folks out. And, those that want to, move in really for these reasons, because they want to buy duplexes, well, you have an opportunity that you can utilize homes already established and turn them into duplexes. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, so SB-9, we just talked about qualifying lot splits, right? And then also I'm going to go into depth right now, just kind of a high level on 2-unit development projects. Okay, so you can do the lot splits, kind of cutting out the red tape for that, but then also lot splits. Okay, so 2-unit development projects, in addition to lot splits, local agencies must also ministerially approve a proposed 2-unit development project on a parcel in a single-family residential zone without discretionary review or a hearing. So meaning cutting out the red tape, fingers crossed. This applies to building 2 new units or adding a second one in order to qualify for ministerial approval. What are some of the points to this? The site is on a single-family residential zone. The parcel is located within an urbanized area or urban cluster, or within a city that has an urbanized area or urban cluster. The development does not involve a demolition or alteration of affordable housing. So no rent-controlled housing that is withdrawn from rent within the last 15 years, or housing occupied by a tenant, market rate or affordable in the past 3 years. So you can't just kick somebody out and do this, okay? The development does not involve demolition of more than 25% of the existing exterior walls of an existing dwelling, unless A, the local agency chooses to allow otherwise, or B, the site has not been occupied by a tenant in the last 3 years. Okay, those are really important keys. And then lastly, the site is not a historic landmark or within a designated historical district. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think this qualifies for quite a few of the homes, and especially even clients that I know that were on the fence and selling and figuring out what they were going to do. How awesome is that? And I know that title companies kind of in the end, they'll probably look for, like, prior to issuing like the title insurance for split parcels, they'll probably be looking for a certificate of compliance. And what that is the certificate of compliance is a method for the planning department to certify that a parcel of land was created in compliance with SB-9 in effect at the time the parcel was divided. So, obviously there's things that you're going to have to go through to make sure that it's okay, and getting the okay stamp of approval through the different planning departments. But apparently it's not going to be that hard. So that's one thing that has changed. So I know that's going to affect some of my clients, even now in homes. And hopefully it will help you or either a loved one that you know. Here's another one. It's on September 30th. This has just happened. The statewide eviction moratorium under the COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act, which is the CTRA, is due to end, or it ended. So really on the 1st, this new law is going to be taken into account. It's not going to turn into its pre-pandemic form. There's going to be some changes, basically a whole new law. The COVID-19 Rental Housing Recovery Act will take its place. And here are the key differences in practices and procedures. And this is from the California Association of Realtors. Again, if you want this information, you can kind of look it up, or I can absolutely send you some information on this, but it is readily available through the CAR website, car.org, which is the California Association of Realtors. But it talks about this. So exemptions for SFP and new construction to the just cause eviction rules return. So beginning October 1st, the standard exemptions to the just cause eviction rules return, the most significant ones being for single family properties and new construction properties built within the last 15 years. Okay, so for rent due prior to October 1st, 2021, the 15-day notice is still required, but not for rent due prior to March of 2020. To avoid confusion after October 1st, if a tenant owed COVID rent from before October 1st, 2021, it's highly recommended to use the appropriate forms to demand the rent now. So if you are landlords, you really need to understand this, because this is going to be a changing of the game. Or if you were in forbearance on, not even really forbearance, but not paying your rent, these are some dates that you really need to pay attention to. So the special 3-day notice beginning October 1st, 2021 through March 31, 2022, and the requirement applying for emergency rental assistance. So beginning October 1st, a landlord may demand the full amount of rent using a special 3-day notice to pay rent or quit for rent that has become due on or after October 1st. However, the new notice requires that the landlord to apply for emergency rental assistance. So this special 3-day notice would be required for all rent due until March 31st, 2022. All right, so just keep that in mind. Again, the dates are going to be something that's really important. So tenancies commencing October 1st, 2021 are not subject to the special 3-day notice. If the tenancy has commenced on or after October 1st, 2021, then neither the special 3-day notice nor the requirement to apply for emergency rental assistance is required. Instead, on that date, landlords can return to using the traditional 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. Okay, so on November 1st, 2021, the landlord may collect unpaid COVID rent due from March 2020 through September 2021. Beginning November 1st, 2021, the landlord may initiate a legal action to recover the unpaid COVID rent. This includes going to small claims court to recover any amount of COVID rental debt, even if it is otherwise over the small claims court limit. So that changes the game. Like, I think it's 10,000 or so. So even if it's above that, you could still go to court and collect those unpaid COVID rents from March 2020. And so it's going to help a lot of landlords out for sure. But they do have some information that you can look at on the car website. It's obviously complicated. It's not like just cut and dry per se. What I just gave was more of a simplified version, but they do have like the whole forms that you can look at. And again, let's see here. It's car.org, car.org. And also, even though CAR makes the forms available for landlords to use, like on you as a person going through being a landlord wanting to go through this process, but you are urged to work with a landlord tenant attorney specialist before providing the notices, especially if your ultimate aim is to evict through a court procedure. You should definitely make sure that how you're going about doing it, because it's a newer law, how you're going about doing it makes sense. I myself am an investor, and luckily, this is a little story for you. So, oh man. So luckily, I myself, I've bought, some investment properties over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And, we are luckily, the clients that were there, not clients, but the tenants that were out there, they ended up leaving on their own accord. I know some folks that have to pay, $2,500 in order to evict, but like these tenants, they were paying completely, low price points for these homes. But I had one tenant, and this is going to be really interesting. I found this out today, but I had one tenant that was there, and they had a dead dog that was still in the room on the facility that we have to clean out. So I have to spend money to not only clean out the stench and the smell and what had happened, dog feces, all that stuff inside the unit, but having to kind of just deal with the aftermath of the person being there and not really taking care of the home, just kicking down doors. I mean, it was a lot. So I know a lot of those that are investors, they're kind of excited that, now we finally can get into these places, because to be honest, truth be told, not being able to get into them, not being able to, kick people out, especially if they were bad tenants. And a lot of them were, they were just wreaking havoc on other tenants, and, having dogs that, they weren't supposed to be there, but unleashed and just wreaking havoc for the people that are around, making the area and making the home just unsafe. So it sucks in a sense of having to, evict. I never want to do that. I always want to give people a chance to stay. And, but if they're just destroying the home, and I have a lot of duplexes, well, sometimes it is, and I'm kind of glad that now this is, here now I'm able to work with, different tenants, and actually my property management company to get some good tenants inside of there and to help the living conditions. Sometimes, conditions when you acquire the properties, and this is unfortunate, but when you acquire the properties from slum landlords that just really don't care, they have so much deferred maintenance on these homes. And, you have people living in them. And I don't like that. I never like to see it. I want people to live in comfortable environments and comfortable places as much as they can. So I'm kind of glad being able to come in and kind of turn over, renovate a lot of the units so that new people can come in and enjoy their housing, their homes, because a lot of families are, really, kind of hit hard, but there are sometimes they're still working hard that just really need a great place to live. And so I'm blessed to have that ability to do that. But, am glad that, there's certain eviction processes that are now in place that we can utilize, especially for those doing the right thing. We do have good landlords. There are some good ones. I hope to believe that I am one that do the right thing and to make sure that everyone has comfortable living environments. But I hope today was a little bit of a blessing for you, that you understood some of the information that I had presented. But again, I can be reached at TamikaEllsworth.com, or you can catch me on Instagram. You can catch me on TikTok, realestate_T. And on the Instagram, is easily just Tamika Ellsworth. But I'd love to hear from you if you're on the fence and wanting home ownership as a reality. I'd love to talk you through it. That's just kind of what I do. And if you're looking to sell a home, I love to talk to you. I have a lot of buyers that are looking for homes out in the market right now. And I'd love to see if the miracle story can be made. Thank you so much. Again, this is Tamika Ellsworth, and I'm equipping people of faith for the home buying process. Be blessed.